I wonder if you even hear yourself any longer. Hear the echo of your own heart as it beats in rhythm with your daily decisions. Do you truly know who you are, or have you surrendered to the opinions of others? You live under 1,000 voices, voices that tell you who to be, what to want, how to dress, whom to envy, how much you must achieve. But those are not your voices. This is your life, your breath, your days, your moments. The question is, are you living them for yourself, deeply, honestly, or are you drifting? You've been taught to think of others first, to sacrifice always, to kneel at the altar of approval and praise. But I ask you, what if the deepest call of your life is that you learn to think about yourself, carefully, soberly, reverently, not in selfish pride, but in truth, not in arrogance, but in humility, not to elevate yourself, but to root yourself. The world says, love others more than yourself. But what about your own soul? The world says, deny your desires. Yet will they deny the longings in your heart? The world says, lose yourself in service. But what if you've already lost yourself? You are restless because you have not thought about yourself the way you ought. We shrink from self-examination because we fear what we'll see. But you must face that brokenness, that emptiness, that hunger inside. You must confront the emptiness within your soul that cries out in silence. You must learn the disciplines of self-reflection, not so that you inflate yourself, but so that you see yourself rightly. You live day to day, but you never pause to look within. You work, strive, achieve, but do you measure your soul? You chase goals, relationships, pleasures, but do any of them satisfy? The sickness is that you pursue outward gains while your inward man withers. You can build great things, influence great crowds, yet lose your own self in the process. To think about yourself is to ask, who am I? What do I love? To what am I bound? What fears grip me? What wounds lie hidden? What drives me? What do I avoid? If you will not face those within, they will shape you without your knowing. Your unresolved grief, your uncrying anger, your unclaimed desires, they will betray you. You must cultivate solitude, quietness, the discipline of looking inward. In that place you will wrestle with your own motives. You will ask, why did I speak that way? Why did I withdraw? Why did I long so? Why did I panic? You will face the lies you tell yourself. I'm not enough. I'm unlovable. Others are better. I must hide. And when you bring them into the light, you begin to live differently. Do not run to others to define you. Do not depend on applause. Do not surrender your identity to another's approval. You are not a reflection of their eyes, but an image unto yourself. You must own your own soul, and that begins when you think about yourself, not in vain pride, but in disciplined humility. Begin by staking out your space in silence. Sit in a room, close the door, turn off the noise, the social media, the chatter, the comparing voices. Ask yourself the hard questions. What do I love? What terrifies me? What do I avoid? What do I hope for? What do I fear will fail? What if everything I trust collapsed? You will tremble. You will weep. You will ache, but that is good, for it is the soil of transformation. In that trembling and weeping, you will touch the raw, trembling edges of your soul, and God will speak. He will show you the idols. He will point out the attachments. He will unmask the half, gods you worship. He will lead you toward the cross of self-denial, and not self-hatred, but true self-knowledge. When you think about yourself, you begin to guard your heart. You begin to see your selfishness, your pride, your fears, your self-pity, your addictions. You begin to watch the impulses rising. When your pulse quickens in comparison, or envy, or lust, or bitterness, you gain eyes to catch your thoughts before they become words, your words before they become deeds. You will learn to say to yourself, that thought, no, that envy, no, that striving, no. You will begin to refuse the impulses that steal your soul. You will refuse the momentum toward discord, to shallowness, to escape. You will stand firm, and you will rise, not to exalt yourself, but to become the person you were made to be. You will cease chasing shadowy approval and begin to build the reality within. Patience, courage, humility, perseverance, devotion, clarity. You will begin to be someone of your own, someone rooted. Some will tell you this is selfish. They will accuse you of navel gazing, but they mistake true self-examination for self-indulgence. Thinking about yourself is not pampering your sensations, nor indulging your shame. It is standing before the mirror of soul, lifting away the masks, absorbing what you see, and pressing toward what must change. You must become attuned to your interior life. The invisible currents in your heart, the subterranean moods, the hidden resentments. When you bring them to light, you begin to steward them. You begin to rule yourself rather than be ruled by what you feel. The more you ignore, the more they master you. And yes, there is a danger, vanity, pride, narcissism. You must walk that border carefully. But the greater peril is neglect. The greater peril is never stopping to look in the mirror of the soul and see your face beneath the mask. The danger is drifting. You will be tempted to run to others, to speak with friends, to vent, to demand validation. But until you have sat in your own depths, naming your sorrow, facing your wounds, you cannot come with clarity. You must come to others from a full heart, not a divided one. You must not unload before you have loaded yourself. You must think about yourself first, then share your kingdom. Imagine a tree whose roots turn upward, whose sap runs toward the leaves only to drain back to the sky. The tree will die. The sap must go downward first, to root, then upward. So it is with you. You must think about yourself. Fruit, nurture, stabilize, before you pour outward. Most of you have been pouring outward, trying to do good, trying to serve, trying to love others. But your own roots are starving. You have no reserve, you have no foundation. The storms come and you tilt. The criticisms strike, you shatter, because you never invested in yourself. This is not an excuse for selfish indulgence. You do not think about yourself so you can isolate, ignore, or escape. You think about yourself so that you may live, love, serve, and endure. You think about yourself so that you may know when to say no, when to rest, when to speak, when to act. You think about yourself so you may think rightly about others, so you may enter their lives with a steady-hearted compassion, not a frantic control. When you understand your fears, your desires, your wounds, your temptations, you become more merciful toward others because you see their brokenness, not as a threat, but as kin. You become less reactive, less carried by every wind, because you stand on ground you built in yourself. Every great soul has known solitude. Every saint has walked the valley of inner desolation. Every one has felt the weight of the whispered lies in the dark. They learn to think about themselves, to stare at the abyss, to name their demons, to weep, to confess, and to rise. Do not fear the depth. Do not shrink. Do not pass it by. The longer you evade, the more your life fragments. The more you run, the more the pursuit will haunt you. Be resolute. You will enter the dark room, close the door, and meet yourself. You will take your name back from the crowd's applause. You will hold steady. Pause now in this moment. Breathe. Let your instincts quiet. Let the noise rest. Let the clamor of duty, comparison, ambition, other people's voices all fall silent. Let only your soul and the one who formed you be near. Ask yourself, what do I refuse to look at? What lie do I live by? What wound do I hide? What fear do I refuse to name? Where do I run? What do I depend on to make me feel alive? What shame do I carry? Some of you will feel the tremor of guilt. Others will feel shame. Some will feel numb. Some will feel anger. Let them come. Let them come and sit with you. Let them reveal themselves. Do not push them away. Do not dress them prettily. Do not baptize them with optimism. Let them be raw. And as you sit there, ask, what of me must die? What belief must be cut away? What arrogance must be dethroned? What craving must be exposed? What desire must be surrendered? And then, in tears or silence, say, here, this is mine. I will not hide it. I will not pretend. I will not build on lies. And then ask, what must come instead? What must be planted in this grave? What virtue, what purpose, what identity? And begin to plant daily faithfulness, courage, integrity, compassion, solitude, truth, gratitude. Then rise from that room with your eyes changed. Go into the day with new posture, speak differently, walk differently, choose differently. When conflict comes, you will not react innately, because you have seen the wound and offered it to healing. When pride rises, you will not be blindsided, because you have measured your heart. When temptation beckons, you will not be naive, because you know your weak point. You will live from yourself, not for others to define. You will live a steady life, a rooted life. You will not fracture at the first wind. You will not sway with every rumor or demand. You will lean into who you are, not who they say you should be. You will not love yourself with a crude egoism, but you will love the real you, the sinner, broken, wounded, redeemed, called. You will guard that you do not idolize yourself, not to inflate, but to preserve what God has made. You will see yourself as treasure given, stewardship entrusted. You will care for your soul as one cares for the body, with vigilance. And your life will speak, not by louder volume, but by deeper rootedness. Others will see not your frantic busyness, but your calm resolve. Others will sense not your dependence on applause, but your inward dwelling. Others will draw near, not because you chase them, but because your life pulls them by gravity. You will discover that when you think about yourself properly, you can truly love others better, not in neediness, not in projection, not in expectation, but in service that flows from sufficiency. You will love with clarity and boundaries, with integrity and humility, with power and restraint. You will no longer collapse if someone rejects you, because you are not standing on their verdict. You will no longer rage if someone opposes you, because your identity is already addressed. You will no longer flinch at silence or pressure or temptation, because you have built your fortress inside. This is not easy. Many will resist you, accuse you of selfishness, misunderstand you. Some will say you have grown cold, aloof, self-absorbed. But they do not see the cost. They do not see the dying, the trembling, the wounds exposed, the reconciliation within. They do not see the depth. If they only knew that to love yourself rightly, to think about yourself, requires courage greater than sacrifice, requires going down into hell, requires facing everything you have avoided, requires crucifixion, requires dying daily, yet you must rise. You must walk on after the dark night. You must carry your wounded heart into the world. You must let others see your scars, not as spectacle, but as access to mercy. Do not let another day pass unexamined. Do not let your heart drift in distraction. Do not allow your life to be the shadow of other wills. Stand in your own being, attend to your interior, tend to your soil. Think about yourself with reverence, with fear, with awe and with courage. Be faithful to your own soul. Be holy in yourself, knowledge. Let your identity be shaped within before it ever goes out. Let your interior be built before you build outward, and when you fail, which you will, return again to that inner room, hold your soul, be merciful to yourself. Rise and speak the truth again. This is your charge, to think about yourself always, but not superficially, to think about yourself in truth, to guard your heart, to live from the root, to love others from a full place. It is more than a discipline. It is a devotion, a pursuit. Let it breathe beneath your every step. Let it shape your eyes, your speech, your actions, your rest. Let it remain hidden, held, tended, never forgotten. You must think deeply and continually about yourself, not in pride or selfishness, but in humility and truth. Only by confronting your fears, desires, wounds, and motives can you live with integrity and inner strength. When you are rooted in self-awareness and have tended to your soul, you are no longer dependent on others for identity or approval. From that place of inward wholeness, you can engage with the world and people around you with clarity, compassion, and purpose. True self-examination is essential for a grounded, meaningful life because without it, we are mere shadows moving through routines, reacting to circumstances, driven by forces we do not understand and motives we never question. Most people live their entire lives running from themselves, filling every quiet moment with noise, every empty space with distraction, every painful feeling with numbing. But the truth is that there can be no lasting peace, no steady strength, no true identity until you are willing to stop, to look inward, and to wrestle with who you are beneath the surface. Self-examination is not self-indulgence. It is not an excuse to wallow in self-pity, nor is it the pursuit of perfection through scrutiny. It is the discipline of confronting your own reality, your motives, your thoughts, your emotions, your desires, your habits, your weaknesses, your past, and your pattern. It is standing before the mirror of your own soul and refusing to flinch. It is asking yourself the hard questions no one else dares to ask you and not moving on until you have sat with the truth. Without self-examination, you live externally. You become a responder to life instead of a participant in it. You move according to pressures, expectations, cultural momentum. You become shaped by what is around you, never by what is within. You may gain success, praise, attention, relationships, achievements, but they do not satisfy because they do not answer the deeper question, who am I? What do I value? What drives me when no one is watching? A life unexamined becomes a life of duplication, copying others, mimicking what seems right, conforming to trends, pursuing the dreams handed to you by others. You learn how to impress people, but you forget how to be honest. You learn how to appear competent, but you forget how to be whole. You grow in skills, but your character remains shallow. You gain influence, but your identity is built on sand. Self-examination requires solitude, and solitude is terrifying for those who have never learned how to be still with themselves. To be alone in a room without a screen, without a voice in your ear, without a task in your hand. That is when your true thoughts come to the surface. The ones you suppress, the ones you excuse, the ones that accuse you when the applause fades and the spotlight turns away. To be grounded, you must know where your feet are standing, not just where you appear to stand, but where your heart is anchored. What is your foundation? What do you believe about yourself when no one affirms you? What lies do you believe about your worth, your past, your future? What shame still has power over your choices? What fears control your boundaries? What pride refuses correction? What insecurity clings to status? These questions cannot be answered quickly. They must be lived through in honesty, in silence, in brokenness, and in rebuilding. Many people avoid self-examination because they are afraid of what they'll find. And the truth is, they should be, because the soul is messy. The deeper you go, the more you uncover the inconsistencies, the hidden motives, the buried grief, the lingering anger. But that is where healing begins, not in denial, but in exposure. You cannot clean what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot change what you will not name. There is pain in looking inward, but it is a purifying pain. It does not destroy, it refines. Like a fire that burns away the dross, self-examination removes the superficial so that what is real can remain. You begin to know yourself, not as others see you, not as you want to appear, but as you truly are. And from there, you can grow. You become grounded when your identity is no longer borrowed from others, when your values are no longer swayed by applause, when your choices come not from fear or guilt, but from conviction and clarity. You live a meaningful life not by chasing happiness, but by becoming whole. You may not always feel good, but you will be good. You may not always be understood, but you will be consistent. You may not always be praised, but you will be true. Self-examination is not a one-time event. It is a daily, often hourly discipline. It is a lifestyle of inner listening. You become aware of your responses. Why did I react that way? Why did that comment sting so deeply? Why did I feel the need to prove myself? Why am I restless in this moment? Every emotion becomes a doorway to insight. Every conflict becomes a mirror. Every success becomes a test. Every silence becomes a classroom. You begin to recognize your patterns, how you avoid pain, how you manipulate affection, how you cope with stress, how you seek validation, and you do not condemn yourself, but neither do you excuse yourself. You face the truth soberly. You confess where you have gone wrong. You forgive what needs to be forgiven. You repent where you must change. You build, not on idealism, not on pretense, but on truth. You realize that most of your striving has been to cover your insecurity. Most of your avoidance has been to hide your fear. Most of your ambition has been to silence the inner voice that tells you that you are not enough. But when you sit in the truth and let it shape you, you no longer need to run. You no longer need to hustle for approval. You become free. You become grounded because your roots go deep, not into applause, but into reality. You stop performing. You start living. You stop defending yourself. You start revealing yourself. You stop hiding behind your resume, your image, your opinions. You start standing in your truth, both broken and beautiful. Meaning flows from authenticity, and authenticity is the fruit of examination. A life that is meaningful is not a life free of pain, but a life that is lived on purpose. You know why you do what you do. You know where you've been and where you're going. You're not perfect, but you are aligned. You're not flawless, but you are consistent. You may fall, but you fall in the right direction. People around you feel the difference. When you've done the inner work, your presence changes. You don't dominate conversations, but your words carry weight. You don't need to be the center, but your stability centers others. You don't seek control, but people trust you. You don't need to be loud, because your life speaks. Self-examination teaches you humility. You no longer assume you are right. You no longer judge others quickly. You know how deep your own heart can run astray, and you extend that same grace to others. You listen more. You speak less. You forgive quicker. You confess sooner. You become teachable. It also teaches you courage, because to know yourself truly is to be vulnerable, to admit fault, to confront sin, to name weakness, and still to keep walking. It's the kind of courage that doesn't show up in headlines, but shows up in how you handle disappointment, how you face temptation, how you apologize, how you begin again after failure. You stop living a divided life, one persona for the public, one reality in private. You stop managing your image and start cultivating your character. You stop chasing meaning through noise and start building meaning through discipline. You stop trying to be everything and start becoming someone. And in the long journey of knowing yourself, you begin to know what matters. You can't be grounded without truth, and you can't know truth without examination. It's not enough to have opinions. You must have convictions. It's not enough to be passionate. You must be rooted. It's not enough to know what you're against. You must know who you are, and none of that comes by accident. It comes through the slow, honest, consistent work of examining your heart. taking inventory of your life, measuring your motives, confronting your fears, confessing your failures, and walking in a way that is aligned with what you know to be true. You begin to welcome correction, not because it's comfortable, but because it sharpens you. You begin to see hardship not as a curse, but as a mirror. You begin to understand that meaning is not found in ease, but in the depth that comes from living awake to your own soul. There is great power in knowing yourself, because the world cannot shake a person who has already confronted their own darkness. You become immovable. You are no longer seduced by flattery, nor crushed by criticism. You are not driven by trends, nor held back by fear. You walk forward, not arrogantly, but assuredly, and the more you examine yourself, the less judgmental you become. You see how hard it is to live with integrity, and you become compassionate toward those who fall. You become safe for others to be honest with, because you are honest. You create space for others to grow, because you know what it took for you to grow. You also begin to recognize that your worth is not in your performance. Self-examination frees you from both pride and despair. You know you are capable of great sin, but also of great change. You know you are flawed, but you are not finished. You know you are broken, but also beloved. And you live in that tension, not pretending, not performing, just becoming. This kind of life is not loud, but it is luminous. It is not glamorous, but it is glorious in its own quiet way. Because in a world full of pretense, a person who is real stands out. In a world of fast answers, a person who has done the deep work is rare. In a world of shallow roots, a person who has grounded their life in truth becomes a refuge for many. You will be tempted to avoid it, to keep moving, to stay busy, to stay numb, but you will return again and again to that still place where your soul must be faced. And every time you do, you will walk away with a little more clarity, a little more courage, a little more freedom. The path of self-examination is not the easy road, but it is the road that leads home to yourself, to truth, to purpose, to a life that is not only lived, but truly known.